So yeah, welcome back everyone, and thanks for your time today. The future of e-commerce is interactive. We're gonna go a bit through where e-commerce stands nowadays and how it's moving into the future with the main trends that we see, and how we're enabling e-commerce companies prepare for this future. So at the beginning, a bit about my company and about myself. Sendbird is a scalable and powerful chat API, meaning that it can integrate the chat functionality into any marketplace that's already set up, any e-commerce website or app for that matter. We already have customers throughout the world. We've done two rounds of venture capital investments, up to $120 million from leading investors. And we have offices in San Mateo, California, Seoul, Korea, as well as London. I myself am based in Munich, Germany. By myself, lived and worked throughout 3 continents so far. Lifetime started in telecoms and ventured into technology, particularly into the SaaS world with an own startup in the UK in the year 2015. It resembles LinkedIn Elevate for those who know it. And I'm currently heading the DACH for Sendbird. I apologize. This should have been a world map where it shows some of our use cases. So clearly on the left is the American continent, in the middle is the EMEA region, and to the right is Asia Pac. So in the EMEA region in Germany, for our on-demand use case, which is live transactions, essentially, we have the likes of Delivery Hero, whereby they implement our chat for conversations between delivery people and the customers on their side, as well as for customer support. On the community use case, we have the likes of Mobile World Congress. We enable the chat functionality in their apps. And we also have like marketplaces down there in the Middle East. We have Dubizzle, which is a real estate marketplace using our chat as well for buyer and seller interaction. Down in Asia, we have Gojek, which is a super app for Indonesia, like WeChat for China. And in the US, we power the chat for the likes of Reddit, NBA, and so on and so forth. This is a fuller list, but you get the idea now. Might be interesting to point out that we are also have our servers in the Americas for American region. We have our server in Frankfurt for the EMEA region, and a couple of servers in Asia Pac as well. So moving on to the main topic, e-commerce is in crisis. We're gonna substantiate why and how. As you see on the left, total retail sales worldwide is growing. It's a massive $30 trillion, sorry, with a growth rate of 4.5%. Not bad at such a high level. On the right, it specifically focuses on e-commerce sales worldwide. And the important bit to note here is this red curve, where you can see that this is the proportion of e-commerce to total retail in the world. It's growing at a slowing pace. So this percentage is, it's growing, but it's growing slower than before. So, and this is now leading to consolidation that we see in the e-commerce world. Up on the left corner here, you can see that those are the number. So excuse me, it's not so clear. We can share the slides later. There's the number of transactions in the e-commerce world, how much is being sold mainly in M&A, not in IPO. Maybe the one on the right is clearer and gives some good ideas about, I mean, people in apparel business like Marks and Spencer or Next acquiring Ocado and Fabled. Delivery Hero, our client, acquiring the likes of Hunger Station and other similar businesses as well. And the one at the bottom shows a more recent number up until Q4 of 2018. The vertical axis is the dollar value, essentially, of the mergers and acquisitions in the e-commerce world. So it's consolidating because it's growing at a slower pace, and there's less and less pie to be shared. This is also compounded by the weak impact of digital advertising. Interestingly enough, in 2009, TechCrunch predicted that advertising is failing on the internet. And 10 years later, the research done by the correspondent has shown that it actually is not as effective as it's thought. So very quickly, the chart at the bottom, which is the interesting one, shows the effectiveness of Facebook ads. So how many people are doing their transactions based on selection effect versus advertising effect. The bit in purple is the selection effect, and the other bit is the advertising effect. So it's largely controlled by selection and not by advertising. So having said that, how is e-commerce moving into the future? We're going to concentrate and talk about three main trends: social commerce, live commerce, and concierge commerce. Starting with social commerce, some research from Statista and CIGI has shown that there is a considerable amount of people that are buying by being influenced by social media. And I have put the word influenced here in a box because there's a difference between this and direct advertising, which we'll see. This is more of the like of the word of mouth or looking at the reviews and so on and so forth. And you can see how in third world countries, this effect is even higher than it is in the more developed Western countries. I'd like to draw your attention to the last three: Australia, Canada, and the United States, because I want to make a comparison between how many people are influenced by social media versus how many people have done a purchase or actually never made the purchase affected by advertising on social media. So you can clearly see that around a third of the population in those three markets, Australia, Canada, and the United States, have never been affected by advertising on social media, but they have been influenced by it. So, and here's the difference. As an example, we have, I found an example about Air Jordan, where they have done a campaign based on a snap code on Snapchat, directed at people attending the NBA All-Stars games. And then this spreads on Snapchat via people recommending it to each other and people following each other's stories. And then you only subscribe if you get targeted in the right area and if you get influenced by your peers as well, and then you choose to participate. So it is it's a big event, the All-Stars game, but it's very directed as well. Moving on to the second trend, which is live commerce. By definition, live commerce is combining streaming video and e-commerce together. And on that, we have an example, which is one of our clients. It's called Timon. I think, they're based in Korea. The way this platform functions is that, as you can see, this lady here demonstrating the product live via live streams of video. And people get to ask the questions, as you can see at the bottom of the screen, in real time. And this will allow them to get live answers, different perspectives of the product. And also, people will be commenting on its quality. I mean, it comes out there in real time. So it's far more valuable than the current e-commerce, which is one-dimensional. And to be more specific, very quick comparison between traditional and live commerce. Traditional, as I said, helps you see the product from one perspective, whereas live helps you see it from different ones. It can be recorded in the traditional case, and it has biased views, whereas in the live one, you cannot really control that. It's out there for everyone to see and to have their opinion about it. User engagement is next to zero on the traditional way, whereas it's part of the process actually when you do it with the live streaming, live commerce. Product explained through text or versus verbal description, much more human touch and interaction around it again. FAQs versus question and answer panel at the end of the presentation of a certain product. And lastly, and I think this is really important in terms of the new trends of influencer marketing as well. In the traditional forum, they could only be influencing through their social media, their own social media pages, whereas in the live one, you can do that on the spot. If you're known to be an influencer, then your followers can hear your opinions and see them there and then. And finally, last but not least, concierge commerce. It is defined around the idea that the customer doesn't want to feel that he's pressured or she is pressured to buy something rather aided to it. So any information that we can give them should feel like aid, not pressure for them to be to buy the things. And according to research done by Market D. Hall, if you're interested, you can look him up. He is a lecturer and he is a researcher on this front. There are four main ways we can do concierge commerce. Offering a product finder, which is assisting people to find what's best for them rather than bombarding them with the whole list of things we're trying to sell. Providing online chat, self-explanatory. Answering top visitor questions proactively, so kind of studying the user behavior on the website and reacting to it proactively for the future. You've all experienced this. Sometimes you go on a website and it feels so natural, so normal. Every time you have a question popping in your mind, you see the answer as the next thing on the page. This is because of work done on this point. We're going to see an example. Oh, sorry. And the last one is adding sales hooks to social channels, essentially. So to give an example on each of those points, starting with offering a product finder, there's a website called Stitch Fix. They have apparel for men, women, and children, but this one is taken from the men's clothing section. There are both ways. There's the old way of giving you everything there is in terms of their products, and there's this finder where you can start interacting with the platform, answering some questions about yourself, and then it will kind of narrow down based on its analytics and this experience and direct you to a place where you can find 3 or 4 things that are most fitting for you. And this is an example of doing that, of offering a product finder. An example of providing online chat, you have for example, Decathlon here in Germany. It's a French brand, but it's very big and known in Germany as well. They offer this pop-up help box whenever, many websites do it, but this is from my own personal experience. It pops up there and it tells you, how can I help you? Or you can proactively click on it and ask your question about the product. So this kind of live interaction as well is very important, and it's a concierge service. An example of answering questions proactively. This map you see, the heat map you see on the right, is from a tool called Hotjar. This is from their website. And what Hotjar does is it kind of sees how much time people spend hovering over certain spots, where do they click the most, and kind of correlates that with if they drop out after that or not. So if they drop off, it's most likely unclear, and vice versa. And then this is fed back to the owner of this website, and they can react accordingly and improve their websites for future visitors. Some examples of particularly Hotjar users, but there are other tools, are Ryanair, the airliner, read.co.uk, which is a job marketplace, and HubSpot Academy. So big brands actually use that, and this is what gives us, or helps give us, this feeling of natural flow on their websites. And last but not least, it's about adding the sales hooks to the social channels, as we said. And it's mainly about telling a story, really. This is an example from Airbnb, where the post on social media here shows that he's telling you a story about how nice it is. Not only the picture is great, but if you want to spend a great time with such amount of people in this time of the year, so on and so forth, make it more close and give this human touch as well again. So all of those things together is really about concierge service. It's about making you feel aided, as I started by saying, rather than forced to do something or just advertising, buy it because it's the best, or so on and so forth. To conclude, at the end, e-commerce is becoming more social, as we saw in the trends. I mean, this is data that's very publicly available. All the references are there. We at Sendbird are trying to help e-commerce websites and marketplaces mirror the offline world. Chat is a core component of enabling it. It showed up in several of the researches directly, and it can help in other areas as well. And essentially, we are helping the e-commerce embrace for the social world. Thank you very much.